Emotional support.
Are we running? Are we rolling?
Just started rolling.
Okay.
I'm kind of wide. I can see the base of the couch.
Can you see my feet? You can't.
No,
Right?
I can't.
Okay, cool. So I can like do whatever with my feet and.
It stops at the cushions where you're sitting on.
Sweet. Okay. This is not your normal Borderlands video. We're not in the kitchen. We're not like making fun cookies. I'm not doing a product review. This is a life update of all the shit that has happened in the last year and kind of how I got there, how that's impacted like life, business, other shit, everything, all the shit. And I have my emotional support pufferfish because this is a pretty like serious, real video. And by sharing it, I'm hoping that people can sort of see we all go through shit. And as a part of trying to come out of this funk that I've been experiencing for the last couple of years, by putting this out there, I'm also hoping that it also helps me to sort of get going. I got so emotional making this video that I forgot to mention a big part of this was also the physical health aspect and the mental health aspect that I actually paid money for. So in the last year, I spent $25,000, a little bit more, on my physical and mental health. That includes going to the gym, like personal training sessions to get back into shape, and therapy, which was $220 an hour. I've never spent this type of money on myself and like self-development, so I'm incredibly privileged to be in that position to be able to do that. But if you're able to get help, you know, sometimes there's a season to hustle and sometimes there's a season to focus in on yourself, and that's where I was at. So hopefully that also gives you something else to think about. I'm gonna have Clay put up like my notes where I sort of bulleted out all the things that I've sort of been trying to juggle the past couple of years. I think things really start with looking at my history, right? So I'm 34 now, and I think when you hit your mid-30s, you start thinking about life a little bit differently and just checking in and being like, hey, am I where I want to be? And am I doing the things I want to do with the people I want to do it with? Let's go back to when COVID started in 2020. I feel like that was the start, the beginning of the end, the beginning of the changes. COVID made me feel a lot of new feelings, and a lot of those feelings were very negative. There was a lot of like anger, fear, resentment. You know, you really, for the first time, I really felt unsafe. I think COVID's impact on me and my family led me down a path of questioning who I am, the way I grew up, whether or not I was proud of like what I've done with my life and the people that I do it with. A lot of questions. And I think that all led back to identity and like finding myself or knowing myself. What I realized was I didn't really know myself. I spent my whole youth, like I immigrated to the US when I was 6, so I really spent from 6 to 12 learning English, trying to acclimate to a new country and trying to fit in. After that, I tried my hardest to fit in, hard stop, and that really meant losing a lot of my heritage, which is Chinese. My parents were really understanding, and throughout my entire 20s, all I did was work the corporate hustle, try to climb that ladder, try to be the person that I truly thought I wanted to be, knowing what I knew then. And that version of me started to kind of like, there were cracks and things were starting to come through, and I'm like, what's going on? So step one was really reconnecting with my culture and trying to look at the things that made me proud of it instead of feeling ashamed of it or not sure what to do with it because I live in America. Anyone who is an immigrant has a similar experience, so that's shared. But that led to some really weird mental health and identity crisis things that I did not know how to handle. That manifested in like this weight that it was like an invisible weight that I was carrying that other people could see, that I was trying to, I don't know, I guess it wasn't even there for me because this was just normal and this was just a part of life and it is what it is. That was like my mantra forever. But finally, one of my mentors was like, you should get some help because I feel like you're carrying this huge weight and you should really take some time to figure out where that's coming from. So I started therapy over a year ago, and that led me down a really interesting path of asking myself if I was living authentically, which is different from if I was like proud of who the person I was, because I liked the person I was, but did I like it because that's the person I thought I was supposed to be, or did I like it because that's who I am? And I think that really broke my head because I never gave myself the time or space to ask those questions. And when I did, I didn't like what I saw. Yuck. I hate this.
What was the immediate thing that you didn't like that you saw?
I was really like ashamed of the relationship that I had with my parents, how it was not as strong as I would like it to be. Mainly because of me, actually, because I put that wall up because I wanted to like fit in to American society and like be successful so badly. Which, funnily enough, that's like the whole point of why they immigrated here, right? So was that I could be successful and have opportunity that I didn't have. So like in a sense, like I did the thing that we all hoped I would do. But as part of that, I also lost something. I always tell people who go into like entrepreneurship in general that it is very lonely. It doesn't matter how supportive your friends are or your spouse is. There is like an aspect to it that few other people can understand. And even if you're surrounded by other entrepreneurs, you know, you get stuck in this like hustle mentality that is, I don't think, ultimately very healthy. Because I was on a pretty much 10-year hustle, come home or come back from school or work, hustle, do things that were productive, and I didn't really like figure out, like everything that I did I liked. So I liked baking, I liked jewelry, I liked all those things, but it ended up like replacing some of the other experience that I could have had, and I feel like I did not have the breadth of experiences that I wish I had when I was younger. And I think that really contributed to like having this like burnout or like a slight mental break, whatever we want to call it. So that was part of the identity crisis. And things started unraveling like in my head from a relationship perspective too. So in the last year, I reconnected with my folks and kind of started to heal that relationship, but at the same time, like my marriage also died as a result of like me realizing I wasn't living authentically again, which is different from living the life that I thought I wanted. I really want to stress that because especially when we're young, we don't know. I think we know, and then it's like, oh, we were just doing this because of all this external stimulus. I called it noise a lot, and it's just very, very noisy. Getting out of a relationship that you've been in for 14 and a half years since you were a baby, like I was 19 or 20 when my hubby and I started dating. So to come to terms with that for me, and to have me basically sabotage my marriage, or like it's hard to describe, right? There's a lot of things that happen that's subconscious, and I think we all think we have all this control over our lives or whatever. I had like a chokehold over my life and the way that it was going. At a certain point, you can't suppress, I guess, your authentic self anymore, even though it wasn't on purpose. And all of that sort of exploded last year, which resulted in my relationship failing, which I learned a lot from, and it's a very human thing. I'm not really going to go into detail about that because it's complicated. But at the same time, I lost trust in myself and my decision-making process, which had brought me to like all the way up to that point so far, right, in my adulthood. And then I was like, oh no, what am I doing? So that lack of trust in self kind of paralyzed me. At the same time, I began to experience like this debilitating imposter syndrome of what the heck am I doing here? Who am I? Do I even belong? I have no business doing this. Why am I doing this anyway? There are a gazillion people who can do it better than me. Nobody wants to look at this. I don't have this like bubbly, fun, exciting personality. Like, what am I trying to do here? And do I still want to do it? And am I doing it for the right reasons? So I've always been really passionate about baking and community, but for the first time, I really like looked at what I was doing and said, do I deserve a spot here? And that's been very, very debilitating. And that's something I feel like I'm still getting over. So while going through all this internal turmoil and external relationship failing, I was also trying to manage two businesses, one of which almost died along with my marriage, trying to do all the work for those two businesses in a slowed economy while balancing mental health. Thank God I don't have kids right now because I don't know how you guys do it, and trying to figure out what is authentic to me. All of that put together made this last year really, really hard. And to just stay afloat during that is so much effort and so much energy. And I've never, had like depression or anxiety moving into this phase of my life. And I didn't have the level of empathy that I do now for people who have mental health challenges. So this is a serious thing. And if you have intrusive thoughts, whether that is I'm not worthy, or I don't know why I'm doing here, or what is the point, I get that now for real, and I can really empathize with people who simply cannot adult. I used to have zero empathy for people who couldn't get their shit together. And now here I am sitting on like the other side of that and being like, oh, I get it. I know what it's like to like have a hard time getting out of bed, or like no longer finding joy in the things that I used to be so excited to get up for. You know what I used to put on my Instagram? I used to be like, go do the thing that, you can't wait to get up for. And I feel like such a hypocrite for saying that too, because sometimes you just can't. And it should be okay, but does not feel okay. Like, this world doesn't really give us the space to do that, because everyone's got to work, you got to survive, you have to make money, you can't stop. But it's that cycle that feeds into itself, and I have no answers here. I'm just sharing that, like, we all struggle, right? I've been feeling shitty for a couple of years and very creatively, like, lacking. As a result of, like, my marriage failing, the relationship with my parents really improved, which I'm really grateful for. Also during this year, I had like a great win. I was able to, with the help of incredible agents, secure a book deal. So I've been working on a cookbook at the same time while all this is happening. And like just trying to get it done. It's like a really big deal to me and really important. And I know the community, you know, places a lot of trust in me. And I don't take that for granted. So I really want to like do everyone justice. And I also lost my grandma a couple months ago. And that loss was the first time I lost somebody really close to me. I know. Hold on. So that loss was the first time I lost a direct family member, and grandma came to the US to raise me, to help with like the family, and because my parents were working and going to school at the same time when we first moved here. She was the one who walked me to school, did all the meals, did all the cleaning, and really helped make sure that we were supported in that way. Like, that's real sacrifice and teamwork. And she was also lost to COVID. She was like 97, 98, had a pretty good life, lived through World War II. So like happy and grateful that I got to be there. During those last couple of months, I got to visit a lot. Like, we didn't know any of this was gonna happen, but that was very destructive and healing at the same time. So because of all this, I have been really struggling with putting out any kind of consistent content. Just trying to maintain has been a struggle, because there are days where you get out of bed and you know you have a list of things to do and you can't do them. And then you let people down, and then this is like the depression cycle or whatever it is that like we have to get out of. And you're conscious of it all happening. So now it's like, oh, how do I get out of this? And you have friends around you who want to be supportive, but also you don't know how to be like, I don't know what I need right now. Sometimes my husband and I still talk like we're just like, you got to figure out what your grief needs, or what, you know, your whatever you're going through needs, and do that for a while. But at some point you have to decide and put in the work to see if you can shake yourself out of it. So that's what I'm trying to do now, is try to shake myself out of it. Trying to figure out like what lights my soul up, and what that means, and who I need to surround myself with, and what this next phase of life means. Borderlands is not going away. I love what I do. I love the people that I do it with. But it might look different. I don't know. I'm here to say, everyone thinks that you have this like facade or whatever, and things look great on paper or look good on the surface, and it is very turbulent under the surface most of the time. And we don't talk about it enough. We don't have these deep conversations enough. So yeah, this video is simply to share and hopefully be relatable in some way, so that if you are also in a position where you feel like you cannot get out, do something for yourself. Even if it's little, doesn't matter how little, and surround yourself with people who will, I think, understand, is also the big thing. So to kind of wrap things up, dealing with all this shit this last year really negatively impacted like the way I work, my business, and I am not happy with it. So I really have to make a change. Making a change means showing up more even if I don't feel like it, and just doing it until it feels normal again. I've never felt like dissociated, and I always feel like I've been very lucky to be overall mentally happy. You know, I have great social group, financially stable, and to have that start to crack really shook me because I think we all crave like predictability and stability to a certain level, but there's also that part of me that craved adventure and experiences and feelings of like wide ranges of feelings. I didn't even know how to feel these feelings. I had to go buy myself an emotion wheel because I didn't know how to identify these emotions that I was having. These are things that you learn as a kid, but if you're busy growing up as a kid, you don't have the capacity to like learn those basic things, which results in problems as you become an adult, like communication, intimacy, relationships, all the things that I think are actually important. I did great in the corporate world, you know, that was fine, but that didn't like feed my soul. So I'm putting this out there in a hopes that it will help kind of change something up here for me and allow me to sort of close out that old chapter and move into a new chapter. So hopefully this helps someone, even just one person. I know that's so cliche, but it's very real. And we'll see, hopefully I can put out some more baking content, educational content, and maybe even some entertaining stuff as we move into this next very unknown phase. All right, guys, thank you. Thanks for listening if you made it this far, and see you in the next video. Yeah. Yikes. Well, that was very embarrassing.
I'm really proud of you.